Okay, so we've got our crouching animations and we're ready to incorporate those into the animation blueprint. So let's go to the character folder and double click Shooter AnimationBP, and let's go to the ground locomotion state machine. Now that's in the anim graph and all the way up here in the top where we have ground locomotion. And here is our idle state. This is our standing idle state, and we're going to want to be able to transition into crouching. So from here, we're going to drag off and create a state, and let's call this state crouch start. And from crouch start, we're going to go to crouch idle. So create a new state called crouch idle. And from crouch idle, we'll create a new state and we'll call this crouch end. And from crouch end, we can transition back to idle. Now here in the crouch start state, we're going to want to use our stand to crouch animation. So let's type stand, and here we have our stand to crouch rifle hip. Go ahead and drag that in and hook it up to the output animation pose. Let's go back out to ground locomotion. Now let's open crouch idle, and for now we're going to use crouch idle rifle hip. So go ahead and drag that in and hook it up. Now back out, let's go to crouch end, and we're going to use crouch to stand rifle hip because we're going back from crouching to standing. Now for crouch to stand, let's uncheck loop animation because we don't want that to loop. Likewise, we're going to go back to crouch start, and for stand to crouch, we're going to uncheck loop animation as well. Now for the transition rule between idle and crouch start, we want to go from idling to crouch start if our B crouching boolean is true. So for this transition rule, right click and type crouching, and we're going to get crouching. And that's going to be our condition for transitioning. Now back to ground locomotion. Now from crouch start to crouch idle, we're going to check automatic rule based on sequence player and state so that this is an automatic transition. Now between crouch idle and crouch end, we're going to use not crouching. So we're going to say get crouching, and we're going to use a not boolean. So if we're no longer crouching, then we can go back to crouch end. Now from crouch end to idle, it's going to be also an automatic based on transition, so that way it will automatically go back to idle. Now, if we start jogging and we enter the jog start animation, if we hit the crouch button during this animation, we want to transition to crouch start. So let's make a transition from jog start to crouch start. And for this transition rule, we're going to use crouching as well. So let's use get crouching and hook that up. Now, likewise, we're going to want a transition rule from jog stop as well. So from jog stop, click and drag over to jog start. And for this transition rule, make sure you got the right one. This one will also be crouching. So now we have a transition rule from jog stop. And finally, if we're in the run state, we also want to be able to transition into crouch start. So click and drag from run to crouch start and open up the run to crouch start transition rule and use crouching for this as well. That way we can transition to crouch start from any one of these states. Let's compile this and go ahead and test it out. So I'm going to click play. And first, I'm just going to try going into crouching from idling by using the shift key. Okay, there's the shift key. Now the camera doesn't follow the character. We haven't taken care of that yet. That'll be in the next video. But if I hit shift, she will crouch, and if I hit shift again, she will stand. Now next we want to try transitioning into crouching from the jog start animation. So I'm going to start moving and hit shift immediately. There we go, and now she's in the crouch idle. And now of course we're moving, which we're going to have to take care of movement while crouching. We'll do that in a future video as well. Now as soon as we're done moving, I can hit shift and go back up, and we're back in the idle state. Now if I'm in the running state and I hit the shift key, then of course we crouch, And if I'm in the jog stop state, we crouch as well. So we can crouch from all of those states. Now, if I jump and I hit crouch, nothing happens because we don't even trigger that Boolean from C++ if we're in the air. So we put that check on the C++ side. So that takes care of the crouching state, and we have crouching start, stop, and idle animations, so that's great. We can see that we also have our aim space working while crouching. We do not have our turning states yet, so we're going to need our turn in place animations for crouching. We're going to have to take care of that, so we'll do that in a future video as well. But this takes care of setting up the basics of crouching, so we will continue with this in the next video. See you soon.